For many years before I got sober, I thought AA was a cult, and I don't know if my mind has changed much yet. We're going to talk about that today, and we're going to talk about, is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, a cult, or is it a friendly place to get sober? Are there things that we should watch out for? Is it completely off the rails, brainwashing, down the river type cult, or is it a harmless group of alcoholics? We're going to talk about our experience going to AA. We're going to talk about where the roots of AA came from, what happened with AA when it started. Is it religious? Is it Christianity? What is the whole deal with God? We are going to talk about everything today so that you know what you're getting into when you go to an AA meeting, or if you plan on staying in AA meetings. This is going to be a difficult talk. We're going to talk about some things that maybe some people might not like, some things people might like, and everything in between. So today we are talking about the topic of getting sober in AA and if AA is a cult. Terry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I've been to thousands of AA meetings, so I think I have my opinions as to whether AA is a cult or not, and we can get into that. But you know, we should define what a cult is. Dictionary definition of cult is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object, a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister, and a misplaced or excessive admiration of a particular person or thing, and a person or thing that is popular or fashionable, especially among a particular section of society. So there's a dictionary definition of cult. And there's many different opinions as to AA or not. What I hear, I don't really hear cult so often, but what I do hear is I hear AA didn't work for me, and that's the most common thing that I hear from people that don't like AA. And for me, it helped a lot. It helped me get sober and stay sober. Do I feel like I've been duped by a cult? No, not at all. But there are different opinions, and yeah, there's different perspectives that people have on this. And Marcus, what about your experience with the cultish behavior? I definitely have seen some weird things there,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I studied cults my entire life. I grew up in an abusive church in Southern California. There's a very popular movie made about that church recently. So if you guys want to do a little bit of research there, the movie is not historically correct, but to each his own. So looking at that, we have to look at where cults come from, what is a cult, and what's going on. There are people who believe certain things that are harmless, right? So like you could go to a church and it's like whatever, they're all into it. I remember when I was going to church, they would always say, "Oh, the cults are, Mormon church, Jehovah Witness church, and anyone who doesn't believe what we believe is a cult." Now, do some of those groups, Jehovah Witness and Mormons, have interesting beliefs that I don't necessarily agree with? Yes, they do. Is it a dangerous cult? No, I've never met a dangerous Mormon or a dangerous Jehovah Witness or whatever it is. I've met dangerous people within all of them, but it's not. It's the one. Like you go to AA, there's one guy who's a bad guy. A lot of other people are okay. We talked about that last week. Now, when dealing with dangerous types of cults, what we're looking for is, are they the kind of people that are making you, empty out your bank account to support their cause or their leader? Are they isolating you? Is there communal living and things like that? Not that each of those is bad in and of itself. I mean, they are worrisome, but you have to look at it in terms of what is it doing for me. Now, the roots of AA, because I was obsessed with cults and I was obsessed with religion, I did have to look at this, and I looked at it a lot before I went to AA. And I did not really go to AA by choice. The rehab we went to was an AA power driven type of, it was a 12-step recovery program, and of the AA persuasion. We had the big book and everything like that. Before I went to AA, I studied Bill Wilson. So AA comes from the Oxford group, which was around in like the 1920s, 1930s. And the Oxford group was more or less a religious group, very dogmatic, very God, Jesus, Bible, things like that. And that's what it was before it turned into Alcoholics Anonymous and became more about alcohol. It was more or less a religious gathering, very small, had some cult-like characteristics. Does AA today have cult-like characteristics? Yeah, I mean, anything does. Me and Terry talking about our agreements and disagreements on alcoholism is cult-like in a way. Basically, us and them. Here's us getting sober. Here's them, the other people. Here's us in AA. There's the normies out there that drink. Does that happen with anything? Yeah, I mean, in my business, like we have our words. We talk about SEO and blogging and WordPress and AI and Chat GPT and software and things like that. Is that a cult-like type thing? No, it's just a language that we have that expresses a common interest. Now, when we look at AA in terms of a group, we want to look at what makes it similar to a cult and what makes it different. Are they around there with funny hats, making chants, and worshiping entities? No, I mean, it's pretty harmless. It's like a God of your understanding could literally be anything. All right, so there's that. That right off the bat takes it away. Are they asking for crazy amounts of money to stay supported? No, they're not. More or less, it's like $1 if you have it. If not, don't. Nobody cares. Do they have literature that's only sanctioned for them? Yeah, they do have that. Do I agree with the religious parts of AA? No, I don't. As far as a higher power, I don't define what my higher power would be. I just know that it's not me. There might be a God out there. It's not me. When I was drinking, I thought it was me. AA helped me understand that. Is it a community that is good to go to if you need help? Depends on the type of help. If you're going to share and get something off your chest so that you don't drink, thumbs up, very good. If you are going there looking to make lifelong friends that you're going to have over to a barbecue 10 minutes after meeting them, probably want to be careful with that, as we mentioned in last week's video. So understanding how these different things work and where they go, a lot of people on last week's call were, well, not a lot of people, but like two, were talking about AA as a cult. I think we can actually probably go through some of the comments from last week's, because a lot of people were saying, it's cult-like, it's this, it's that, it's the other, where in fact it really isn't. I think a lot of them, like G says, I lost faith in my AA group, so I stopped going. I couldn't deal with all the double standards, like the rules. Don't date 1 year in sobriety. Now, is that a double standard? Well, there are people that can do that it's like, the Catholics. Okay, there was a big hoopla about predator priests. Is every priest a predator? And is the Catholic Church predatory? I mean, I don't know the inner workings of them, but it looks like it's a few isolated people. That's what it looks like. Would that be a double standard of the Catholic Church? No, they're not. They're not perpetuating that. It's a few bad actors, right? Again, from my limited view, I have not studied that church or anything like that. But a lot of times what we're looking at is the zealots, like when, the things happened in with the year 2000 or was it 2000? The 9/11 thing, and everyone was, oh, this group is bad. No, they're not bad. There's some bad actors, just like there's some bad people that believe in the Bible, right? Westboro Baptist, they're condemning everyone. Is that the representation of everyone who believes the Bible? Not necessarily. Can you pick out things in the Bible that support good and bad? Absolutely. It's a book. I could go through AA and make it say whatever the hell I want if I pick out the right stuff. And looking at that, is there a double standard? Well, there might be within people, but nowhere in the big book does it say don't don't date within the first year of sobriety. Is that bad? No, I think that's fantastic advice. Like, why would you go and do all this stuff in sobriety? Like, focus on staying sober the first year. So I wouldn't say that that was bad. And then he says, male sponsors with women and guy sponsors, girl sponsors with guys. Is that a double standard, or is that just your group practices weird crap? Right? Like my family member who went to the recovery group, that was a bad actor. Now it's difficult for that person because now they're like, oh my gosh, is there bad actors everywhere? Maybe I should stop going. Well, maybe not. Okay. What do you think about that, Terry? I know you've probably gone to a more consistent than me. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I agree with pretty much what you're saying. Um, as far as bad actors in meetings now, me being a man, I generally don't get the issues as much as maybe a woman might, but I haven't experienced a lot of bad things. And as far as people that I want to stay away from, yeah, I've seen them in AA meetings. Absolutely. Um, were they like cult leaders? No. In fact, the second tradition of Alcoholics Anonymous, the second part of it said, "Our leaders are but trusted servants; they do not govern." So AA is not led by any particular person. That's one of part of the definition of a cult is a leader, somebody that people look to. And now there are people that a lot of people will look up to because they have a lot of experience in AA. But what you generally hear most of the time is that everything they're telling you to do, like the try not to change your relationship status in the first year. It's not necessarily don't date. Maybe you already were dating and maybe keep it going and maybe not make any big changes during that first year. Or men should sponsor men, women should sponsor women. There's a lot of little unwritten rules that are not in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And even the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous talks about that these are suggestions. And in on chapter 5, they have how it works, and how it works talks about the program. And the very first part of it is rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our program. And that's it's still a suggestion. You don't have to follow everything that they say. You may have a sponsor that's telling you you have to do what I tell you to do, but then all you would need to do is just say, I don't want you to be my sponsor anymore because you're asking me to do things I don't want to do. Um, the one thing about AA, like other sobriety programs, is like that first line says, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our program. And, you know, if you're going to if you're trying to get sober, whatever you do, you have to go all in. At least that's what I had to do. I had to go all in. I had to do everything I possibly could to get and stay sober. Because before I was sober, I was doing everything I possibly could to stay drunk. It was not just that's just the fact. Our minds have been altered by alcohol, and we we really have to make some big changes, and it's not an easy change to make. We can't just snap our fingers and change into sobriety. So as far as getting sober, it takes a lot of effort as far as what you do, and following a program like Alcoholics Anonymous or Talk Sober, whatever you're going to do. For me, it was a matter of doing everything. I did AA, I did the hospital group. There weren't any online things when I was getting sober, or at least there were very few that I didn't really research or check. But that's what I had to do, was do everything I could. I tried everything. What other thing I had to do was, like for AA, is, yeah, they're saying things that I don't want to do. Um, so I just didn't do them, at least yet. I didn't close my mind to what they were suggesting, and I understood that these are suggestions. I don't have to do them. Okay, that's cool. All right. And I don't think I'm ever going to do that one, but I'm not going to close my mind to it. Maybe someday I may be doing that action or whatever to help me stay sober, and that's the key for me, is staying open-minded to whatever people are suggesting, whatever they're saying, backing away from things that I don't agree with, staying away from people that I have that gut feeling that I don't know if I want to be hanging out with this person or inviting them to coffee or whatever it is. I don't know if I want to do that. And trying not to make those big changes in that early sobriety. That was a key for me. And as far as the cult like atmosphere, yeah, there's the language in AA. Absolutely. You hear people share and you're like, man, that person talks like a AA pro. They must have a black belt in AA. And they say all the right things, and they talk about their higher power and this and that, and talk about the self-will and self-confidence and this and that. And okay, yeah, there's people that speak great in the meetings, and I'm not one of them, definitely not. I just try to speak from the heart. And that's what I'm trying to do with you guys, is just try to speak with the heart. And and as far as, cult like, I haven't seen any tendencies towards that. And one of the comments last week was that they had a bad time at the meeting. And what I suggest people do is, if you find a meeting that you're not comfortable with, stop going to that one. There's thousands of meetings all over the place, and there's hundreds online now that you can go to. And that's what I would suggest, is just keep trying. If you're just giving the meetings a couple of tries, I don't think you're really trying hard enough. It's really, it comes, I heard somebody say that if you're not ready to get sober, there's nothing that AA, any sobriety program, there's nothing that they're going to say that's going to get you sober if you're not truly ready in your heart. But if you're truly ready to get sober, just about everything they say, or another program, whatever it is, just about everything they say is going to resonate with you, and you're going to be able to do something about it. It's really up to you. And that's one thing, that's another thing that we have to keep in mind, is that nobody else is going to get me and keep me sober. It's
Yeah.
me. I am the one that has to do that. And whatever all the other noise out there is, I have to shut down what I don't want to do and recognize what's not working, like watching too much bad politic YouTube videos, something like that, which is completely off the topic, but that's something that can hurt. That can hurt my
Yeah.
sobriety. So, do I shut those down? Yeah, I got to shut them down, or at least limit them, keep myself informed enough. But that's it. Not, and focus on sobriety, especially in that first year, or whatever is early sobriety for you. But that's kind of the what you need to do. Stay
Yeah.
open minded.
And there was a, oh, now we got an echo. I can hear myself in your speaker. That's weird. Okay, it went away. Yeah, so there was a comment. Patriot Jewel said something to ponder. Former cigarette smokers who quit smoking are not ever expected by this society of any group of people to continue to identify themselves as current smokers when they haven't touched it in years, let alone go to 3 meetings a day to ruminate in it. Counterproductive? Question mark. Correct? Question mark. Well, I do wholeheartedly agree with this, and or disagree with this. And I disagree with it for a very important point. There's lots of people who come in and they say, oh, well, maybe I smoke, maybe I have this other bad habit, maybe I drink too much coffee. Marcus, Terry, are these not chemicals? Is this not the same? Isn't addiction the same everywhere? And the answer is no. I've been a smoker, I've been an alcoholic, I've been a pothead. I've been those things. I know the differences. And I will tell you, Smoking cigarettes never made my brain go insane. Smoking cigarettes never made me want more cigarettes after it made me intoxicated. Nobody was ever pulled over on the highway and said, you're getting a DUI because you have cigarettes. Why? Because you're not under the influence. You might be smoking. It might be an addiction, but it's not the chemical dependency and the mind manipulation that alcohol gives you. This is something that's very important to differentiate. Now, when I first got sober, I was very big into studying psychology. And one of the people I liked was Richard Bandler. Richard Bandler is crazy, batshit crazy. One of the things he said, and basically, if you don't know who Richard Bandler is, Tony Robbins made a digestible, nice guy version of Richard Bandler's NLP. That's what he did. In NLP and Tony Robbins, they say, well, you can't say things because they're going to be what you become. If I say, oh, I'm a failure over and over and over again, then I'll be a failure. This is not true. A lot of people think this is true. It's not. People who believe in the law of attraction, the universe is going to give me what I want. I manifest things. In my opinion, it's absolute horse poop, right? Because of the fact that if I say that I manifest and I make what happens through my thoughts and wills, then I have to apply that to everyone. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, people in impoverished countries who can't eat manifested that. So if that's not true, then none of it is. Now, do our thoughts hold weight? If I say I'm an alcoholic for the next 30 years, is that going to make me go drink? Well, it depends on the person. Terry said, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a recovered alcoholic for 10 years, as have I. Am I out there drinking? I am not. Do I ruminate on it? I do not. Do I care? No. When I go to an AA meeting, I say it because that's what everyone says. Someone asks me, I'll say, I was an alcoholic. Here's how it worked. I think that there is a healthy fear and a healthy way of looking at I was an alcoholic so that you don't go back into it. I think the minute I stop having a respect for alcohol and what it does to me and what it does to everyone, which is different from cigarettes and coffee and everything, we know this, we are alcoholics. Cigarette smoking does not make you drunk. Cigarette smoking does not make you go insane. Coffee drinking does not make you go insane. It does not make you drunk. When I drink coffee, if it affects me badly, I don't want more coffee. When I drink alcohol, I will drink it until I go to the hospital. No other chemical does that, right? There's a couple other chemicals and drugs, and yes, those people go to meetings and have those things too. Is it bad to say, I am Marcus and I'm an alcoholic? I don't think so. It doesn't make me want to drink. It makes me want to not drink. And it makes other people understand where I'm at. If you think that is counterproductive, I think that's something to check. And I think also the argument isn't necessarily where to go. Doesn't matter if you go to AA, doesn't matter if you watch these videos. Do what you got to do to get sober. If that means calling yourself not an alcoholic, that works for you, that's fine. But I wouldn't condemn what works for other people. And what you have is a lot of people in AA that condemn what other people are doing. Now, if someone out there is saying, oh, all addiction's the same, someone bites their fingernails, another guy does this, and you watch the TV show where people are like, I'm addicted to pulling grass out of the dirt. Okay, well, my opinion would be maybe you need to go see a psychiatrist for that. I don't know. Is there chemical dependency? Is there addiction, chemicals in your brain from taking grass out of the dirt? No. You're not going to get drunk. It's not going to warp your mind. So when we look at these different and we start to understand, because another comment was, oh, is alcohol cunning and baffling? Well, no. Alcohol's just a drink. And are you an alcoholic? Is it powerful in and of itself? It is not. I never had a bottle of alcohol jump off the counter and come kick the crap out of me. Not once. Now, if I drink it, it will kick the crap out of me. Does that mean it's powerful all the time? No. That means it's powerful over me if I drink it, which is why I say I'm an alcoholic. Because I know that sometimes I'll crave a drink. Everyone else is having it. It's been 10 years. I could probably have one. And I probably could. I'll bet me and Terry could go and go to the bar and have a couple and go home. Probably be fine that night. But what it's going to do to my brain, I've proven so many times before. And to have a healthy respect for what alcohol does is important. Because when you look at chemicals, the way that they work, no, it is not the same as other addictions. And it is something personal to me that bothers me when people say, oh, well, like my brother, oh, I was addicted to marijuana. And I'm like, okay, well, there's no addictive chemical properties. At best, it makes you lazy and lethargic and you don't want to do anything. But you never went to the mental hospital and you never got completely tweaked from what you're doing. Is it productive? Probably not. Does it have, in my non-medical opinion, I'm not a doctor, the addictive qualities? From what I've found and what I've read and what I've experienced, it does not. And I think differentiating this is very important. And I mean, when I look at 12-step programs, have I gone through all 12 steps? I have not. Have I had a sponsor more than 2 weeks? I have not. Do I go to AA every single week? I do not. I go maybe once every 3 to 6 months. Okay. Do I like it when I go? Yeah. There's lots of good people to talk to, lots of people who resonate. Are there creepy people? Totally. Am I, being a guy is different. I think, you're left alone more than the other. And looking at that and understanding, hey, these are things that happen everywhere. My sobriety is up to me, and what I do about it is my job. I need to focus on what I'm doing, and I need to understand it. And Jamie says, yes, they think that AA is a cult. Tell us why. We'll answer it. I personally don't think it's a cult. They're not out there worshiping something and donating all their money, but what are your thoughts on all that, Terry?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I don't think it's a cult, and yeah, they haven't made me do anything that I really don't want to do, and they haven't taken all my money. Sure, I give money to them. I've given money to them, but a couple bucks here and there to keep the meeting going. And I don't know, Jamie, if you feel that way, I don't give it a try. Check it out. That's what I'd do. They're not gonna suck you in as far as like other religious cults will do. They'll let you leave whenever you want. That's another thing that makes it not a cult is you can keep going. There might be some guys that may give you a call if you gave them their phone number, but you don't have to give them your phone number. You don't have to say your real name. You don't have to share. You don't have to give any money. You just show up. Show up right when the meeting starts. Leave when it ends. You can show up halfway through. Leave 3 minutes later. They don't care. Doesn't matter. And that's so I don't understand why anybody would think that, but that's you can't convince everybody all the time.
And I would
Definitely not.
say, I don't know if you remember what James said in rehab, and I'll never forget it because James was perfect for me. Guy was like, I had to have that kind of person to get sober. I did, because he brought us in there and I'm like, oh, you're going to brainwash me. This is some kind of cult, this BS, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yes, I am going to brainwash you. And he went on to explain, you know what? You're currently brainwashed. Everyone here, even if you think AA is a cult or not a cult, wherever you're at, you are brainwashed into your current way of thinking, which is why you think it's right. Like if I brought up politics, you have been brainwashed by whatever group to believe what you believe. Even me. I don't like Biden. I don't like Trump. I don't think there's any hope. I'm like, whatever. I was brainwashed into that way of thinking by the things that I read, the things I studied, and what I think I made up in my own opinion. How do I know I was brainwashed by that? Because I don't have all the facts, and I couldn't possibly have all the facts. Anyone who tells you they have all the facts is brainwashed, and they can't see it. The difference is being able to see it. When James told me in rehab that I needed to be brainwashed to get sober, he was correct. I needed to be brainwashed to understand how chemical dependency worked. Why? Because I was brainwashed by alcohol and chemical dependency. All of us are in our current state because of the things that we believe, the things we think, and the brainwashing that brought us here. It is no accident that most people in America identify as Christian believers of the Bible. That's the majority of the people. You go to India, it's not like that. They identify as Hindu people. Why is that? Is that because God came from on high and only visited America? It is not. It is because the current climate of thinking affected our brain. Do you ever wonder why many people in politics say, well, it's either right wing or left wing, you're either Democrat or Republican? Well, did you know that lots of other countries don't have those two options? And some of them go along just fine. A lot of what we have is brainwashing. And when we understand that we are fallible, we can make mistakes. I don't know everything. I know a couple of things and barely even good. But we have to understand and look at it. James says, I agree that it's our responsibility, not anyone else's. I've been to AA. Maybe I spoke too soon about it being a cult. In Florida, it seems it, but may not be like that forever. Okay, I'm in Central Florida. I would say that here in Central Florida, you have really good groups. Are they older? Yeah, like I've gone to groups that started in the 30s here. California, most of them, I don't know, Terry, did you ever go to one that was started in like the 30s?
Well, I've been to some that are many, many old timers in them. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But there's ones that were established many years ago, and like there's one guy that knew Bill Wilson. That's that type of thing. It's pretty amazing, actually.
And, on that topic, um, do I hail Bill Wilson? Do I think he's some kind of, no, there's some holes in his story. Like when I look at it and I'm like, okay, there's some holes in the story. Like, bro, I know a lot of it was financial stuff. Dude struggled with stock market stuff, which I can identify with that. I do business and things like that. Um, did he? So I'm going to bring something up for you, and I think this is going to be the most important part of today's talk. Okay, I think this is very. Pay attention. Because I studied cults, I had a very interesting way of looking at things, which is my current brainwashing. Some of it's right, some of it's wrong, some of it's just plain stupid. But my current way of thinking is that um, I like to look at why people do what they do. Why do they do what they do? Well, when I used to be a preacher, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I used to stand on the streets of Santa Monica and tell everyone they were going to hell with a microphone and about 400 people around me. Sometimes I got spat on. Sometimes I got shoved into trees. Other times I got hit. And I believed what I believed to the ends of the earth. You could not prove me wrong, although time changed my mind. Now, when you look at religious groups, there's a guy named William James who made a book in the old days called The Varieties of Religious Experience. Fantastic book, completely boring, awesome information. He talked about what was known as revivals, which was a very important thing for me because I was like, why are we not having revivals here on the streets of Santa Monica? Why aren't people falling down and hallelujah, Jesus, repent, whatever? Why didn't that happen? Well, William James went through and looked at what happened, why people had a conversion. One, they were vulnerable and susceptible. Okay? When people come into AA rooms, when people go to rehab, when people want to get sober, as they say, you don't walk into rehab on the best day of your life. You walk into rehab because you're struggling. You're down and out and you don't know how to quit and your ass has been kicked by alcohol. Number one, you're vulnerable. When you had the preachers of old days, Charles Finney, these others back in the 1800s, 1900s, and they would have these revivals, 20s, same thing. A lot of this happened around the same time. AA, 20s, religion, all these things happening. And what they noticed is that lack of food, lack of sleep, bad time in your life makes you susceptible to whatever it is. If I was able to convince Terry when he got sober and he was down and out that the elephant that holds up the world is going to help him get sober, and I was convincing enough, he would have believed it, so would I, and so would a lot of people on this call. Why? Because your defenses are down, and whatever goes in at that point is almost like a hypnotic state. Repetition. Okay, repetition over and over, like the person said. Should I say I'm an alcoholic every week, or is that going to get in my head? Well, it depends on what you do with it. I am all about building strength for the alcoholic. We are strong. Are we powerless over alcohol? Yeah, when we drink it, we are powerless. Why? Because everyone is. If you go to the Pope or pick your most upright person you think on earth, and you give them as much alcohol as I had or Terry had, they will do and feel the way that we acted and felt. It is powerful in that sense. It is a powerful chemical that will knock you on your butt if you're not paying attention. That repetition is helpful. Is other stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes I go to a meeting and they say easy does it, and I'm like, bro, did you just hear what's going on in my life and you're going to tell me easy does it? Let go and get the hell out of here. That's not helpful. I don't want bumper sticker sobriety. I want something that's going to last. And I think understanding it is very, very important. Tommy says, the way I understand it is that alcohol changes you for 4 days. After 4 days, the alcohol is gone. The dependence is physiological from there. Psychological? I think that's what you said. I don't get it when you say chemical only. So physiological and chemical. Chemical dependency does leave after about a week, according to my understanding. I could be wrong about that. But it does change your brain. Is there any wonder why old alcoholics who have been drinking for 60 years all think and act the same? No. That's what happens when you drink for 60 years. And understanding this, I think, is really important. David says, I understand why unbelievers don't like the higher power aspect. As a Christian, the ambiguity of higher power is not quite enough. It's a two-way street. I agree. I think as long as we realize our higher power can be nothing, I think that's key. You want to take some other questions there, Terry?
Well, on that higher power one, I think one way to look at it is, for instance, when I went into the rooms of AA, I didn't believe anything as far as a higher power is concerned. But one way for me that helped me to look at it was, I don't have all the answers, and right now the people in the rooms of AA can help me stay sober. So I'm going to listen to them, and maybe they have a higher power than me right now. As far as that's concerned, they are my higher power because they know how to stay sober and I don't. And that's kind of the way I looked at it. And that helped me and it helped me stay sober. So that was key, definitely.
Yeah. Cheeto says, I smoked weed, drank beer, and watched affiliate marketing gurus for years and never did anything. I think I brained myself into believing I can't do it. Or you were brainwashed into not trying. One of the things that I like from Richard Bandler, again, there's some stuff he says that is like, don't listen to that. That dude's a little interesting. Is he says, what did he say? You're only born with two fears, the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. So when you say, oh, I'm afraid to speak in front of people, which is the biggest fear on planet Earth today, right? One of the biggest ones. That was learned. Your fear of doing things and taking chances, that's learned. Your fear of not drinking alcohol anymore is learned. You learn that through drinking alcohol and the feelings it caused, and understanding what exactly is going on, and understanding how addiction works.
Yeah,
How does it affect our brain?
and that fear is a big thing, and that's what I think I mean, I hate to use the word brainwash, but I guess I could say I brainwashed myself with the fear of having to go through detox, having to stop drinking, having to admit to everybody I know that I'm not drinking anymore. And then what do I do about that? And then I don't have that alcohol to fall back on. So what am I going to do after that? If What if I start drinking again? and they catch me, then I have the shame and this and that. There's so much to be fearful about when you're trying to quit drinking, but there's so much to be fearful about in just regular everyday life. And really, it's just something that we have to learn to control and put to the side and keep
Yeah.
moving forward. I mean, that's what we do. And we all have fears. Like, well, let's say you're starting a new job. Man, that's a scary thing when you're starting a new job. Things like that. There's so much to be fearful for, and getting sober, it doesn't have to be one of them. If you can just let go and let people help guide you. And
And is getting a new job scary or is it exciting?
yes,
It could be both.
yeah,
Is quitting drinking scary or exciting? Could be both.
exactly. Both.
Um, and looking at it, I think it's, let's see, where'd it go? I had a question here. Gina says, I have a friend who went to AA for a few weeks. He said some of the AA people invited him to go partying with them after a meeting. He decided not to go anymore. Well, I think that was a rash decision based on what some people said to do. I went to rehab, and I remember I went to rehab, and lots of people were hooking up, dating, going out and drinking in the woods. One guy was getting drugs in the woods. I don't know where he found them. The woods looked pretty woody to me. I didn't see any like dealers out there, but to each his own. I went there to get sober, and it would have been easy to get sucked into drama. And you know what? Terry wasn't sucked into drama. I wasn't sucked into drama. I went there to get sober because I knew if I didn't get sober, I wasn't going to make it out. I wasn't going to live through my addiction. So I ignored everything except what I needed to get sober. There was a couple of counselors there that I didn't like. What did I do? I put my head down and I listened to what worked. And for that person to go to AA or any other meeting and to quit because a couple people asked them to go partying, just don't go to the party. The party's where you get drunk. At the meeting, I don't think they're getting drunk. I hope not. If it is, then yeah, find a different one. But understanding you are in charge of your sobriety. And what helps me is understanding chemical dependency and understanding what goes on. Um, Gus says a fella near me is an alcoholic, has a lot of emotional problems, has walked out of a 12-step recently. I have a number for another 12-step. Any insight on how to help him? Yes. This is where I am passionately disagreeing with people who think any addiction is the same. They say, oh, well, I quit cigarettes. It's the same. No, it's not. It is not the same. I don't think there's like a rehab for cigarette smokers. There's groups to help you quit smoking, but a rehab, no. Because why? Because cigarette smoking doesn't change your life and your mind and your overall well-being the way alcohol does. I remember when I first quit drinking, I smoked cigars. I did get addicted to cigars. They were hard to quit, not as hard as alcohol, but they never warped my mind the way alcohol did, and they never made me drunk. And that, I think, is super important. So with your friend that doesn't want to go 12 steps and walks out and has emotional problems, I had emotional problems too. I needed someone to tell me, fix alcohol first. You are chemically dependent. The emotional problems you think you have are not as bad as they are. Alcohol is making them worse. Fix that first. Because there's a reason, I know in California this is true, I don't know, I think in Florida too, a therapist cannot treat a drunk person. If I go to therapy after having drank, which I did, and I was treated, and that person, I don't know why they did that, but it was a terrible therapist at the time. The reason they can't is because you are dealing with the wrong thing. You are dealing with someone whose emotions are hijacked by alcohol. You can't help them. There's no way. You need to solve the alcohol problem first. And once they understand that, it's very, very, very important.
And they're probably
Tommy,
they may not be at the point where they're capable of understanding that. Otherwise, I mean, I could say it this way: they're not ready yet. If they're just stepping out because they're leaving, just because it's AA is a cult or whatever,
Mhm.
you know.
Tommy says, I'm addictive by nature. It wouldn't surprise me if sexual addiction is also not a problem along with other addictions. I'm just super addictive. Well, there's a theory of addictive personality. Am I, and I mean, when I have coffee, I have 16 glasses of coffee. When I have water, I drink water like it's going out of style. If I have cigars, I probably have too many cigars. Um, do I have a addictive, impulsive personality? Yes. I went back and forth with this on my dad before he passed. My dad was never, he might have struggled with a Xanax issue. Did it affect his life? No, he was never out of it. He was never, you never noticed when he was on Xanax. Did he smoke? He did. He was addicted to cigars. Did he have a gambling addiction? He did. He was a gambling addict. He had an addictive personality. He also drank alcohol and didn't really care for it. I don't know if he's ever been completely drunk in his life. So why, if he had an addictive personality, why didn't alcohol sink its teeth into him and game over, join me in rehab? Well, I think addictive personality is addictive in the sense of things that are addictive, but not things that make you chemically dependent. When I was chemically dependent, it was beyond how I quit cigars. When I quit cigars, it was like, okay, I'll stop buying them. Everyone's annoyed. I looked in my dad's mouth and saw the cancer before he passed, and I didn't want to smoke anymore. If my dad was an alcoholic and cancer had given him alcohol, looking in his mouth would have made me want to drink more. And I would have drank so much I would have gone into oblivion. And I'm the kind of person who is a germaphobe. I don't like going to the gym. I don't like germs. I don't like them at all. Yet I went into the rubbish bin and I got the little glasses, the little bottles that had enough in them to pour myself a drink. Why? Am I just some degenerate that likes alcohol so much that I got to go get it out of the trash can? No, I was chemically dependent. Chemically dependent. I felt like I needed it to live. And I probably, in some aspects, did. That's why you need to go to the doctor when you detox. Never need to go to the doctor when you quit smoking, other than to see what it did to your body. But detox from smoking is just annoying. Detox from alcohol makes you see things, hear things, go insane. I went to a mental hospital. When I quit smoking, I didn't go to a mental hospital. My dad went his whole life. He's had struggles. He's had things. He's got addictive personality. Never had to go to the mental hospital because of his addictive personality. Now, do some people? Sure. There are mental conditions that all kinds of things. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about chemical dependency and what alcohol does to you. And that, I think, lumping all addictions, there's channels all over that talk about just kumbaya your way out of it. Positive thinking. I have, even with AA, I have a beef with AA because, in my opinion, they do not focus enough on chemical dependency. We have this moral depravity, we have these spiritual defects, we have all this stuff that makes us drink. No, we have alcohol that makes us drink. End of story. Do you have moral defects? We all do. Like, I know people who don't drink who could benefit from the 12 steps. And for me, I don't like that the pick yourself up by the bootstraps, go through these things, find God is attached to drinking, because it's really not. Solve the drinking problem first. That is the biggest problem. That's the one I needed to solve to make this stuff work. Does that make sense? What do you think about that, Terry?
Yeah, we need to get alcohol out of the picture. AA is designed to help you develop a life where alcohol is not the answer. So that's what it's great for, and it does give you a new way to look at life, a new perspective, and that's what it does. but alcohol has to come out of the picture. And if that's in the rooms AA, that's fine. Or but a doctor needs really a doctor needs to be part of this as well, as far as making sure you're detoxing properly. It is dangerous to detox, but yeah, only the first step in Alcoholics Anonymous, step one, has anything to do with alcohol. The rest is kind of trying to teach you how to live life. And really, what it's all about is trying to teach you how to live life to be a good person, really. And many of us alcoholics, we're not good people. We're self-centered buttheads, and it teaches us how to reach out a little more and help people a little more. Stop being so self-centered. Maybe only be self-centered 95% of the time instead of 100% of the time. But yeah, so that's kind of what it does.
All right, guys. Well, I think, is there any other major questions in there you see on the old live chat?
I'm taking a look.
All right.
My question is, why is my head so big in this?
And what
On on our stream.
is it? A big head?
Yeah.
Okay, I could shrink it. Let's see.
No, it's okay. It's too
I'll,
late now.
I'll shrink the heado.
Too late now.
There you go. Is that better?
Well, now it's just me, so it's fine.
No, it switched
When it was
over.
the two of us on there,
Yeah.
it's okay. Okay. James said I was. Oh, that's interesting. Not sure exactly what you're saying in the beginning, Jamie, but you said I was backer acted 2 times because I would drink, so I didn't wake up. I
Baker
now have,
acted
huh?
Baker acted is Florida for like a 5150 taken against
Oh,
your will, threat to yourself. Yeah.
and I now have chronic insomnia because I'm scared to sleep and not wake up when I got sober. Yeah, I found when I first got sober it was difficult to sleep, but it wasn't my racing thoughts. So that's pretty common with people when they do get sober. As they get you'll start to really your mind goes and goes and goes, and some people meditate to help calm their minds down. For me, it was time in sobriety. And as I continued on in my sobriety, sleep got a little bit easier and a little bit easier. And one thing I did do is I just tried to pay attention to my body. When I'm tired, take a nap. I still do. If I'm tired, take a nap. That's what I do. It's no big deal. I'm allowed to
Yep.
take a nap any time of the day. It's all right.
Cheeto says an interesting one. He says, I think people can get addicted to anger. They look for things to piss them off. Is that also a chemical dependency to the dopamine? It is a dependency on a chemical that your body is making, but that's isolated. What we're talking about is a new chemical being introduced, right? That is what's super important, is a new chemical being introduced into your mind and body, which is changing things, right? That is the important thing. And all these other things are not so much creating this new chemical or introducing this new one. If you're addicted to anger or TV or whatever, it's not introducing something outside. Cigarettes do introduce nicotine, which does change in much the same way my non-medical opinion coffee does. Alcohol is the only thing, and other substances similar, that makes you under the influence. That's what we're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
And,
And as
and
far as anger goes, I had a lot of. I wasn't a super angry drunk, but I definitely had anger. And I see it a lot with people that I've worked with where they get the blame game. This person's trying to do this to me. This person did this person did this. And it's really it comes down to fear, but it's a fear of the lack of control. And one way that I found to get over that anger and to help me with anger is stop looking at the negative. Look at what I have in my life. I mean, I have a home. I have a family. I mean, just that right there, I'm ahead of the majority of the world, and being grateful for what I have and doing that on a daily basis, trying to look at the good things in life. It's kind of cliche-ish, but gratitude, it takes you a long ways and it helps get you out of the anger. So I think it's more of a way of thinking. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's our thoughts on AA being a cult, understanding chemical dependency, the difference between different addictions, which I think is super important, and everything like that. So thanks for being here. Check out talksober.com. There's a link down there. And if you want to support the channel, you can go there. You could get all kinds of free stuff too, but there's a big yellow button you can click. I think it's yellow. Yes. Click the yellow button. You can sign up. It's $27 a month. You get a call with Terry and I where you can talk about whatever you want, share sobriety stories, anything like that. There's all kinds of other stuff there, but we'd appreciate if you guys did sign up there. We do want to do more with this channel, as we've been saying for a long time. I think it's about time I converted my old backyard office mostly to the Talk Sober stuff. So we'll be hopefully coming out with some new videos. I do have to bring my whiteboard over here, but we'll try. So awesome stuff, guys. Thanks for being here. Stay sober. No matter what you do, whether it's a 12-step or, just whatever, go to a doctor if you're detoxing, get some help, and stay sober. Life is so much better sober. So thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, everyone.